click record so we can have a recording. So let's go ahead and open up that same quote. Did you have any questions from last week?
The only thing that I do have a question about is, you know, Brian created an actual logo for us, and I went ahead and I put it in there, and it's showing up on like transmittals and RFIs, but it's not showing up on any other documents.
Okay, so let's set it up first on the documents. It's loading. Okay, and let's go up to the word options and come down to document and choose quotation. And go ahead and where it says plain paper underneath the title quotation, change that to plain logo. And then click your logo button. And let's choose where that logo is living. And then is there anything else you want to add it to? Or is this good enough for right now?
Yes. That's good for now.
Okay. All right, and say okay. And then let's go to the blue and red document settings. And go ahead and you can make that taller so you can see it all just in case you ever need to get to anything else. I hate scrolling that little tiny document, and say okay. And it should be there, but just for fun, click that logo button again because we already viewed this one time. It's up at the top this time. Yep. And is that the same place?
Looks like it.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, click OK. Click OK again. And go ahead and preview the document.
There it is.
Go. So when we look at this document and we compare it to the one that you sent me, one of the things that immediately I notice is that we don't have that verbiage location. So we can add the location and have it be a part of your documentation at all times.
Why can't I open that? Okay.
So it's got a big scan and it says architectural reference and location. And so you can actually add a comment line underneath these, so it would be at the start, or where you've got that PLAM select cherry, that's probably a note. We could actually add that location as well. So let's play around with the document for a few minutes and see if we can get it to look a little closer to what you guys have. Go ahead and close it. So let's go to where we've got lobby 100 or 100 lobby and click on our notes. And this is, pull that into the middle. This is where we wrote that PLAM select cherry. So again, we could add those items here if we wanted to, or we can leave this as PLAM select cherry, and we're going to go over to our left. Go ahead and close that up. Just say okay. And we've got a location there. So let's put in locations, just put 006 reception, just so it really stands out to us. And now the neat part about that is that's going to print on every one of these products if we're showing the product. The other thing that you can do is you can do a drawing reference as well. So if you scroll over to the right and use your little arrow instead, because I'm not sure where it is, the arrow just makes it go a little slower so I can see them faster, believe it or not. Okay. Product reference. Oh, keep going. Sorry. Must be very end. There it is, drawing reference. So if we wanted to move that over, we could move both that drawing and location. But we could just, for now, we could just go ahead and type in A4/A404. Okay. And you can highlight that and copy it, and so it'll go into all of them. Just highlight the whole thing and hit Control-C and then Control-P. Or Control-V, excuse me. There you go. So now click on 101 reception. And let's go ahead and preview the document now so that we see what it does. Okay, so we didn't do anything because we're not showing those. All right, there we go. We need to add those columns. So we can add the columns so it'll show drawing reference and location. Do you want to see what that looks like? Or would you rather it's just a banner at the top?
I mean, I guess I'm not following what.
Well, let me open up the what you said.
With the like the drawing reference and the like we have on there.
Yeah, because I sent them one.
Yeah.
Oh, I forgot to tell her.
I'll take care of it.
So right now you've got like this blue banner. So we could actually do that. You could call the room that location :006 reception. Then you could put architectural reference A4, A402. And you could put that in that main summary note, and then that would be at the top in bold. And then below it, you can have all of the additional references, as well as, you know, length, depth, and height, blah, blah, blah. So you want to try to make it look a little more like that?
Yeah, just, I mean, I like to give them, you know, quantities, kind of a generic, you know, description of what it is without too much information. Like this is kind of how it defaults.
Okay, that's okay. We can definitely do that. So let's play around with how this looks. So let's go back up to our blue and red documents, and we're only messing with the one that's in here. So if at some point you guys go, wow, I love that, we can always turn this into the default, but for right now, we're just playing with this one. So say okay. All right, so let's start out with column. So click on the column button. Yep. And let's add length, depth, and height, because that was important to you guys. Actually, we call it width, depth, and length. Oh, no. Yeah, width, depth, and length. Okay. And you can move those up so that they're at the very front or in the middle. I think they were actually before. Were they before the sell price? Actually, yeah, you don't show the pricing, so it's irrelevant.
Right, yeah, this would be what gets sent to the customer. We don't give them.
This is the price that they see.
They do not get pricing per.
That's perfect. Okay. So we've got that. So that would be at the end. And then you have item description towards the end. So just grab it and move it towards the back. You'll have to actually click the down button over on the right. There you go. Keep going. It was the very last thing in your listing. So then you've got quantity, unit of measure, and then item code. I'm not sure what item code is going to mean. To us, that would be the product or the item description. So can we put item description back up next to unit of measure? Sorry.
Yeah, we don't really need the codes because they don't know what that means usually anyway.
Okay.
So.
Perfect.
Hope I'm not making you busy with all the switching back and forth.
Not at all. Totally used to it.
Okay,
Most
so then
of the time it's like, come on, can you do this faster? My God. So you're
unit of measure, quantity. We don't really use an item number on it, but.
No, so you could actually remove that if you wanted. Some people like it because it creates a, like they can come back and say, hey, we're looking for number 1 or number 5. Put it back in because I have a feeling that it's going to go off the page, but, and then just remove. Can we remove the labels? Now we're on the internal one. Let's leave it for just now. We can possibly remove the labels later. Say okay. So then go to the line type, the next button over. All right, and so that is going to show us our comments, our product, which we want, and our items. Perfect. Now we do have that as printing our notes. Most of the time, that internal note, we don't usually want to show to the customer, so we turn that off, and you just use the notes in the flyout panel. You don't use the notes on the line. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Okay, so say okay. And then let's go to the tree node on the right. So here's where we're going to, I know what we didn't do. We didn't put the location in. Click on first summary for me. So this is where we're going to hide the sell price. Go ahead and put a check mark and hide sell price. And say okay. I kind of want to add the location. So go to the column button again. And let's add the location and the drawing reference. They're towards the bottom. Yeah, the double arrow. Okay. And let's leave them where they are and say okay. And say okay again. And let's just preview the document, see what it looks like now. So you could have it look like that. That item number 1 could be throwing you. Like I said, some people love that because then the customer could say, hey, I'm referencing item number 4, the lobby, you know, or I'm referencing item number 6, that base cab 2-door, 2-drawer.
Yeah, we'll have to think on that one because I could see
Okay.
some context.
So that's
Oh,
one
you
way we
got
could
4
do
in
that.
here. Oh wait, that's your number.
Right. So the quantity is the second column. So if we wanted to get rid of that item number altogether, let's see what that looks like.
Oops, wrong one.
Nope, that's right. You were absolutely correct. I would have stopped you. Yep, quotation. And then go to column. And let's remove that light. Yep, and just remove them and say okay.
Okay.
Preview it again. And we can even remove that 100 lobby 101 reception because you can see it's got a subtotal line, or we can remove the subtotal line too, depending on what you want to see.
I mean, will we have to do one for, like, because, you know, we'll print our own stuff out that has pricing on it here for our file. Are we going to have like 2, like, you know, different reports, one we send to the customer and one we just print out for like our drafters, or?
Well, I guess I don't understand. I mean, you can have a takeoff for your drafters, which is a totally different document.
Oh, okay. That's what I guess I was getting at, is that they're different documents.
Yeah. And ultimately, you know, when you give the drafter a takeoff, you might show them the line type analysis report, which has a breakout of every room, or you could show them a takeoff, which also has a breakout of all the material that's in that particular product. It kind of depends on how you want to give it to them.
I'm not sure if you're backing away from your microphone,
Nope,
but sometimes you're louder and sometimes you're really quiet.
It's attached to my head, but I guess I have to stop dancing around my office, huh? You don't want me to do that anymore. All right, so the location and drawing reference, that's one way. Let me show you another way that we could do that. So go ahead and get rid of that. And we'll go back up to that blue and red again. And let's remove the column. Yep, say okay. And click on the columns. And let's remove the drawing reference and location at the end. And say okay. And okay one more time. So now instead, let's put in where it says lobby 100 or 100 lobby. Let's actually remove that and call it location, just like you have in your paperwork. So call it exactly what it is. Yep, call it like 006 reception or location 006. I think that's how you had it. And then do a space and do the architectural reference and see what happens. I want to see what this looks like when we put it on.
Okay, yeah, because we don't want to do that on everything. We just want to put our room number in.
Yeah. You do? Okay.
Yeah, we don't. That's too much.
So how do you get that to populate now?
It's automatic in the program. I guess, are you familiar with Prime 6400 at all? I'm sure.
I'm not.
Oh, yeah. We do it like that. You put it in up on the drawing reference and location. There. That's how we do it. Then it just comes out on the reports.
Yeah. So it's definitely coming out that way, but it's not going to show it to you unless you add it there. So, or we put it into the description. So now if you were to preview the document, you can see it would look like that.
Okay, yeah, I guess it doesn't have to say location as long as it pops up and says 101 reception. I think anybody would know that's where it's at. So
yeah, and then you can even put that drawing reference if you want, if that helps at all. If you type the location, if you make the location the drawing reference, it'll automatically fill that in for you. So you don't have to add it along the road. So it'll show up in the location, and then you would have to add the location to be there. And you could probably even change that verbiage to say drawing reference on that column instead. Okay.
Now, is there a way, I guess, like, because because how ours, you know, we kind of almost have like a cover sheet that kind of lists,
Mhm.
you know, basically the products we're providing and then a price. Is there another separate title sheet, or can we get the quotation to look, you know, that the takeoff is like secondary, so it's like they see what we're providing and then our price and then the takeoff?
So you mean a cover sheet like what you've got there?
Can you open up, or I guess?
Yeah, no, I've got it. I'm looking at it. So you're talking about the scope, etc. So
Yeah, and then
there's a
the cover
couple ways
sheet.
you can do that. You can make that your header so that when we look at our document, that's at the very top, and you can have a set of headers that kind of comes in every single time
Okay.
you start a new quote, and it populates itself right there at the very top of your quote. As far as your alternates and any change orders, you can actually have them print on a separate page at the end of your quote, so they pull that dollar amount out until they've been approved. They would automatically be there at the bottom. And we haven't even touched on those, so we'll do that today so you can see what they look like. And then items not included, to me, that would be a great exclusion or your footer. And so we can make this all be on one document if that's the way you'd like it. Now, you also have a letter that you could put in here, and it could kind of be this every time, and you just fill in that total price number when you get it and fill in any additional things on that letter. And so the way to do that letter is right inside of your document.
Okay, yeah, I think that's kind of what we
Okay.
like.
So yeah, you guys are leaps and bounds ahead of where you ought to be. So I'm jacked that you're, you know, trying new things. Way to go.
Yeah, the system we use is, I think they tried to knock you guys off, so it's like.
Well, it sounds like they do some things you like.
Yeah, I mean, if sometime you'd be interested, like, you know, I can be on my computer if you want to see, you know, like kind of what it looks like. If you'd be interested in doing that sometime, I could kind of show you, and maybe you could, you know, steal some things from them.
Yeah, I'm not a developer at all, so it would be like, oh, that's interesting. But other than that, it wouldn't do me any good. Dave, on the other hand, he might be more interested in it.
Yeah, I'll mention something to him. I'd be like, also, I think when Dave talked, he had an awesome list of exclusions.
Right.
You know, if we could get a copy of that, that was great. Like some of them I never even thought of.
Oh yeah. I actually may have the same exact one because he and I share a database. So yeah,
I'll look. Notes were great. So
I'll look for that. Yeah. Well, and I know for me, my big one was the fact that I quoted everything with Wilson Art, and so if you didn't spec out Pionite or Nevermar, I was quoting it with Wilson Art, and if you came back to me after the job was awarded, it clearly stated in my exclusions that that's the way I build it. So when we think about those headers and footers as exclusions and scope, like you're talking about, if you just go up to that blue and red again.
Oops, wrong one.
Yeah, the note I put on about if you do not see it in the scope, then it's not included, because
there you go.
Would call up and go, well, you didn't exclude it. Well, I didn't include it either. So
that's right.
like,
isn't it amazing? It's sort of like talking to a 7-year-old, and they're so literal.
Yeah, once I put that note on there, it's like, if you don't see it, that means it's excluded. I haven't got that question since. So
there you go. I used to always like to ask my son, did you do this? No. Did you and Joe do this? Yes. It's like, okay, because I asked it as just you. Apparently that wasn't good enough.
Yeah.
Go ahead and click OK for me. All right. So we are going to, what did I say? Click on header for me. And do you have that document that you can open back up again and grab that scope? Is it a PDF or is it a Word?
It's a PDF, but
you have the power to copy it?
Maybe.
Sweet. Look at you. So dynamic. All right. So say, I'm super impressed. Say okay. And then let's go to the footer. And let's grab if anything else you had there, like items not included or something.
What all do you want?
Yeah. Just grab the items not included one, not the alternates, because they're going to happen automatically.
People are trying to get us metal lockers out of us. Never gonna happen.
Oh, I hate that. Isn't that amazing? And then grab the last set of lines that you had there too. There was something else you had there at the bottom. Yeah, this part, tailgate delivery is included. Lead time is, That was another one. Lead time for me was a biggie. It's like, look, I'll tell you 6 weeks, but it's 6 weeks from when I have approved shop drawings from you. So if you give me 5 sets of red lines, it ain't going to be 6 weeks.
Maybe we'll change ours because I think we stole that note from another company.
There
It's
you
like,
go.
no,
So say,
anyway.
exactly. So say okay, and then say okay again. And let's look at what we got. So there's your scope at the top. And again, if we set this up as a global setting, you could come up with a set of parameters that are kind of your norm. And then as time goes on, if there's something different about this one, then you can just change it on that particular document. Because the moment you open up that quote, you'll have the pre-filled documents there, and then they'll be held with your document as long as we double check your settings.
Yeah, that's handy. We just have to remember to edit.
Yeah, you would definitely have to remember to do it. And then go to the bottom and we'll see the end, and there's your exclusions. And again, you've got it set to be tiny, so we can actually change that so that it's the same size font. Most people don't like the little font. I don't particularly care for that. So nope, it's not there. Go ahead and hit cancel for me and go up to options and come down to, nope, actually hit cancel again, up to options and come down to project pack. And go to the, yep, right where we are. There it is, perfect. So that'll make it so that's not tiny anymore. So it's the same size as the rest of the document.
Okay.
So that's kind of nice.
Is there a way to move where the sell price is, or the, our final, like I said at the end there, like that it's maybe more prominent at the
Well, the
beginning?
problem is because it came down so far, it, depending on how many, if we added 3 more nodes, it'd be in the center of the screen. So there is not a way.
No, I mean,
He's like, because up here it's in a very.
I mean the total sell price are not.
Well, you could actually add that line to your scope one, to your header, and then just type it in manually.
Oh, okay.
That's what I would do, so that it really looks like the way you have it here.
Okay, and we could change, like, if we wanted to make that bold, like that line bolder.
Yeah, I don't think we can make it bold. I think the only way you're going to do that is if you bring it out as an RTF.
But can we change the size of the font just for that line?
You can't. No, unless you bring it out as an RTF.
It's RTF.
What's an RTF?
So an RTF is a Word document. So go ahead and close it, and I'll show you how to do that, because that might help you even more. So go ahead and go to the Word file up top, all the way on the left, and come down to Export and choose RTF. Okay, and click yes. And then just save it to maybe your desktop or something so you don't have to go looking for it. And just call it 2016 or 2018. There you go.
What?
It says your desktop's not found. That's not good.
Nope.
That's kind of weird. Go to the C drive. There we go. Oh my, are we linked in through something else?
No.
What's happening? Click up on the save in again. And this PC, click on this PC.
Desktop.
Yeah, it says no items match. Isn't that weird? Just click on this PC and see what it does.
Okay, let's do this again. File, export, RTF. Yes. Let's try desktop. 2018. It's like it's trying to open one, but it's
super weird. It says save as. Go to the same place where you were before the Prime. Yeah, just hit cancel and let it find it unless you can do it. Yeah, hit it in Prime logos. Just throw it there, see what happens. That was super weird. I don't know what's happening there. Yikes. Okay, shrink down your project pack and go ahead and go to that prime logos. And there it is. Open it up. And now it's a Word document, so you can manipulate it any way you want now. So you can bold things, and that's when I talked about how I used to have this problem with my Wilson Art. I did everything in Wilson Art unless they told me different. And if they didn't tell me different, then it was Wilson Art. And I used to get people coming back to me, so I would bold it and highlight it and make the word Wilson Art bigger. And I would always do it here. Now, the biggest caveat to this is that it does not read back to Project Pack. So if you change that number to $190,000 and you send that off to your customer, guess what? Your quote shows 189. So it kind of is what it is. So if you change it, just know that you're going to have to then manufacture that same change. Like if you add another $1,000 to this, you'd have to somehow add it into Project Pack.
Okay.
But you can certainly highlight that whole total price now and bold it.
Doesn't
And
have letterhead.
yeah, you'll have to put it on letterhead.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't want to do that. I think we can live without some bold. And
There you
Yeah.
go. I think so too, especially if you throw it in there. So now the way we've got that set up, this documentation kind of looks like yours before. It's missing just that blue highlighted columns that you had. So again, this scope thing like that is kind of nice. It can come in every single time. Now, the last thing you have is you do have a letter. And so if you wanted to add a letter to this and put your scope and everything into your letter, you can do that as well. Some people find that they prefer it to be just on the two sheets like this and not have a separate letter, but we can certainly do that too. So just close the door again and go back up to your document settings and say okay again. And now over on the right, we have a letter. We did header, footer, click letter. So here you can put in all that same stuff. And so if you highlighted that item again, and say okay again. So now when you preview the document, it's going to ask you who you want to send the letter to. So you're going to say who it is, and you can click the 2 at the top. So it'd have to be a contact of some sort that you had added in. So since you don't have one, just say okay. And that's going to make you pick somebody. Hit cancel because we've got to put a contact in. You must not have one at all chosen.
No, I actually got a hold of, I asked Donna and Martha to get me CSVs of the contacts and the vendors. And Donna's
All right, well, we'll just
it.
add one. It's not a big deal. Go to your straight up and click on your project so we can open up the project. And go to your contacts at the bottom. You do have a contact. Well, what the crap? I'm right there. Okay. Say okay and go back to that. So go to our blue and red and say okay. And then over here on the left where it says attention, go ahead and add me. Hit the drop down and choose me. Let's see if that fixes it and say okay.
Nope.
Why isn't it there? That's super weird. What's happening with that? Where is our letter contact? All right, if you hit cancel, it's just going to give us our regular document. Okay, let me check mine, make sure that there's not something bizarrely going wrong. Blue and red, quotation, letter, break time.
Nope, end of break.
End of break time. Yeah, see, mine is picking all of my contacts right away. Huh.
Would it be that we have you listed as a different kind of like a vendor or something? Or?
Maybe, but
We have you in as an estimator, but
it's so weird. I mean, mine is definitely work. Go to help about. What version are you at?
oops.
Well, there is a newer version. I am at 101.75. Well, why isn't it showing you? I don't understand. Because it really should be the job information attention under the, when you go to the estimate, yep, click there, and you go to the blue and red document settings and you choose a contact. And you chose a contact. And that should be all we need for a letter. That is the, change it from salutation to none to a name, like Ms. or Mrs. I am dumbfounded.
Well, we can work around that one. For the
Yeah, well, but it's a bummer because you can't see the letter. You want to see a letter? I mean, it looks just like your letter. It really does. And it would just have the scope in the middle of it, and it would show.
It's even got your attention right
yeah,
here.
I mean, it put it there, but it's not giving you a letter. I'm definitely going to look into what's happening with that. Letter for.
I mean, shouldn't it also let us do bidding contractor? Isn't that a contact?
That's in the it's part of the project, though.
Right, that's the business.
Oh.
And maybe that's what's wrong. Because we don't have a contact attached to the bidder. Just for fun, can we go to the business tab? Let's see if we improve a point. And open up your bidding contractor. And make a contact at the bottom. Just go to the right and choose new. Say Joe Glotz or something, doesn't matter.
Joe Schmo.
Joe Schmo, I like it. All right, and save it. Hit the save folder above the C. Yep, and close it.
Oops.
And then go back to the business tab and close that. Go back to our project. Sorry, our estimate. I apologize. And click on that. Yep. Click the drop down. Hey, say okay. Hit the preview button. There it is. Crap, so it has to be attached to the business. Sorry, guys.
Okay, so
When you put in all the contacts, that should be in there.
Well, but you guys were quite specific in wanting it to show you wanted a very generic bidding contractor instead of putting in, you know, all the different vendors. Oh, look at her. She is just so smart. My God.
Close that. Estimate. Quotation. Okay. Review. Yes.
You're bidding.
Okay, so then you just, yeah, but I mean, there's
You
a
can
way to
change it. Yeah, if you go back to that, you can add, it says dear, and you can add whatever you want. And then you can put the person's name in there. Nope, hit cancel. You're fine. Go back to the docket, to the estimate. Go to the blue and red. Say okay. Say okay again. And then hit your preview button. And when you first get that up, you've got a dear bidding. You could change, nope, leave it as bidding contractor, but there where it says greeting, dear bidding, you could put dear Bob then, if you know where you're really sending it.
Oh.
So if you've got a person's name, you know, Dave or something.
contractor at the end of it.
Yep. Or if you want to put bidding contractor as the first name in your business, it'll automatically populate with that.
Right.
So anyway, we just need to get rid of some of the dots in the letter so that your scope is all the way over.
Right.
So you're seeing that right. But basically it looks exactly the same. And then if you go to page 2, you'll see the others. And then you could get rid of the header if you don't want that, and your footer if you don't want that, because it's all part of your scope.
Now the total price, not the one we put in annually, but the 27.
Right.
Does that always appear there, or?
Yeah, if you want to print the total. If you don't want to print the total, you don't have to. Go ahead and close this, and we can turn it off.
There's a check box in the list of stuff.
So right there, print totals, come on down a little bit, right there, uncheck it. And say okay. Now you don't have it.
You take away that selling price thing too. That's in the, that whole column.
Yeah.
We can take that off. Okay, well, it's getting closer.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I hope we can get it pretty close. But so now the alternates, let's talk about an alternate. So let's say you decide that reception 101 is an alternate. It's pretty simple to make it an alternate. Over to the right in your flyout panel, you have a little checkbox. It says alternate. Put a check mark there. So now when we hit our documents, go ahead and hit them again and say okay. At the bottom here, we have alternates. And so click on that over on the left. Yep. You can actually make a page break so it comes on its own page. You can actually have it print the totals, which you would want, assumedly. And then you can get rid of that header and change it to just alternates because we don't have change orders and exclusions in this. And then click the alternates button real quick for me. And we want to make sure we include pending because this is a pending alternate. It hasn't been approved yet. Say okay. And I'll click OK one more time. And now preview the document. Okay, so there's our first part. And then we've got our second part. And then if you go to the page 3, there's our alternate. And it's actually broken out.
Why does it give us a price though?
Yeah, can you manipulate that price of, I mean, that's what it actually is, but say I want to call it something else though.
What do you want to call it?
I don't know, I want to make that $700.
Oh gosh, yeah, that's easy. Sure, close it up.
Boxes we talked about earlier.
Super simple. All right, so open up the panel there. Actually, just scroll to your left because we're actually on it, so we're fine. So let's say you knew you could get $700 for this. We are looking for the nice job, the adjusted unit price. So right now you can see that you've got your unit price is $247. So let's make that $300 for that one. And then go to the one below it, and we're going to make that $400. Okay, so 2 things have happened. Open the plus sign in your tree on the left. First thing you see is that both of those products are green. That tells you that you have manipulated them with an adjusted unit price. It is in your face green. If you made it a lesser number, it would not be red. It would still be green. You're also noticing that you have a profit margin of 25% right now. You look down below, you have a really pretty little Pac-Man yellow, so you can still see profit. Here's the big caveat to manipulating it the way we just did. I want you to open up the product itself. Just hit the plus sign. And go down to the bottom where, actually go to the top and hit the plus sign and hit the line 1. And in that labor, I want you to grab a library item from the right. Open up your library and go to labor. And I want you to grab install labor. And I want you to just grab labor installation, that's fine. And drag it right into the middle of your labors, doesn't matter where. Yep, and let it go. And I want you to put in 10 hours and say okay. So we're padding this, right? We realize, wow, we didn't charge enough. Well, it doesn't change the price. It's still $300. But now our really pretty little yellow profit has turned to a massive red loss because we just added $600+ worth of install, which did not exist before. So our profit has gone down by $516. So while using that to manipulate is really great, you need to remember you've done that so that if you then go back and you need to add something to it, you remove that. Because if we remove that 300 right now, just backspace right over it, right in that adjusted unit price where it says 300 in black. Last row. Last row. There you go.
Just delete it?
Just get rid of it, yep. Just backspace over it or highlight it and delete it. And then tab over. Our price immediately becomes what it should be with our new fun installation that we threw in there. So it's a great tool to round up, to make things look better, to, hey, I know I can get more money for this. The reason it was actually invented is for the horrifying reason that you go in for a scope review and you realize you forgot something. And now you need to honor the price. You're stuck. So you're going to go ahead and put in what you said it was going to be, and then you're going to drag all the crap you forgot in. So you can really see how bad it is. The other kind of cool part about that is that then pray to God that you get a change order, and you can kind of try to make up some of that money on that change order for what you forgot. Because everybody's going to feel bad.
So could we, without like doing the way you did the alternates, I guess if we just wanted to add it as text without, you know, like doing this adjusted price just in case we were scared we're going to mess it up, like, okay, we know this alternate's $700, so we're just going to, you know, write that in the text box or something, or
Okay.
I guess part of our scope, like alternate number 1 is $700.
But how did you get that?
Like, I guess within this is, I mean, it's figured in there, but we're only, I guess, never mind. I see what you're doing. I think I can figure it out.
I mean, I don't want you to, I mean, certainly you're out on the job site and you say to somebody, you know, they say, hey, I need you to do this. And you're out there and you go, yeah, okay, I can do it for $700. Well, now you get back, you drag everything into it, and you realize that it was really $750. Well, now you can change it to $700 and still be okay. That's a great use for it. But honestly, you're going to want to always quote with your assemblies, because from the bottom line is the whole point of this is that you guys want to ultimately get shop pack, and you want to be able to do all your job costing, right?
Right.
Yep.
That's what we're going to have trouble like understanding. You know, like we know that's what you need to do, but like sometimes because no one else is the estimators, no one else is using our information, so it's like, it doesn't matter if we put it in or not. So
right, and a lot of times, you know, those of us that have been doing this a really long time, you can look at something and say, I know it's going to cost X amount of dollars. Well, that's really great, and honestly, it's probably been working okay. But there was a reason you decided you wanted this, because ultimately, and I'm just assuming that you're very blown away by what Shop Pack will do, and it will take the apples of Project Pack and turn them into the apples of Shop Pack, so you can compare. And it's great that we said it was going to cost this, but what did it really cost?
Right.
And the only way we really know that is to put POs against it and the labor.
Right. So you'll just have to keep reminding us that that's why we do this.
Okay.
$100 in it. Or, you know,
I love it. I love it. Well, and again, you know, I have some old school guys out there. I mean, I got one guy, bless his heart, missing 5 fingers, and he's 71 and he owns the company and he just bought the software. And he's teaching 2 girls that are 22 years old and they've never built a cabinet. And he's like, okay, that one would cost that. And I'm like, Tom, stop. How do they know that that's what it would cost, baby? You got to pull in oh, that's right. Okay, we need a cabinet. We need this. And it's pretty simplistic when you think about it like that. You look at this drawing and you can say, all right, it's got a 24-inch cabinet. It's got a 34-inch. Just drag them in. And the girls are totally getting it. And it's kind of him where he's like, all right, I got to change my head. And that's basically what you guys have to do too. Sorry. I'm not comparing you to a 72-year-old.
No, I
really am not.
That mindset, because we've been the other ones for 20.
Exactly. And again, you know best. And a lot of times you might manufacture something on the fly. You know, if you know, or you get a quote for something for, say, a piece of metal, you can add that. You know, if you go to Reception 101, you can right click and add an item and just call it that material. Just choose add item. And that's like a true buyout type of thing. So now if you type in the description of metal sheet, now you can put any price on here that you want. Just right click on it, choose edit row, very top one. And you can put in one, a unit of measure, and a cost. And away you
so
go.
like we get stone quote, so like we just lump that in as a stone quote, one total price, and we mark their price up by 20%.
Correct. And if it's just a number at that point, and then it's got your same overhead, because an item is considered a material. But if you're going to use stone and they're subcontractors, then we can change the overhead on subcon so that it changes it. But let's say you looked at this and you thought, you know, I really think I can do better. Space over 2 to the left for me. Use your little scroll bar. Sorry, I wanted to see the profit and the overhead. Keep going. We're looking for profit and overhead. So there you go. So right now you've got your overhead set to 5% and your profit is set to 10, it looks like. Does that sound right? Right click and choose auto size for me. They're a little smushy. Auto size, there you go. So let's say for this piece of metal, you know that you need a bigger overhead, or you know you need a bigger profit. You can change it right here on this line. So let's change the overhead to 20%.
205 cents.
Okay, it turns to red, not because it's a negative, because you manually changed it. So it's telling you, hey, you changed this profit. And you can do that anywhere. You could actually search out, say, all of the labor for sanding, because you know this is a hard maple job and it's going to take more time to sand that. So you want to increase the overhead on that a little bit. You can use edit find and you can search out one or two things and then just manually change it. It'll change them all for you on one full swoop. So let's look at what that looks like. Go up to the word edit for me, up at the very top, and come down to find. So you can search all different things for this. This is a really cool, fabulous tool. Like if you can't remember where you put something, or something seems out of whack and you want to, I don't know where I shoved it, you can actually look for it. And you can look for it lots of different ways. One is by the line type. Another way would be by the description. You can look at sales tax, etc. So if we choose line type, let's just choose that one. And let's go to drop down and let's choose labor. And then hit your little find, which is the binoculars at the very end of that. So in it pops, you can make this box much bigger so we can actually read it. And so let's say you decide that you want to increase, if you notice, we're sitting on a group. And right underneath where we wrote line type, it says group results 1 of 31. And so for this labor CNC router, there are 31 instances of this throughout your entire job. So let's say we wanted to increase the one under custom. Go to the custom one. How many are there for that? It's the third one down. There's 2. So let's say we wanted to increase what that overhead was, or that profit was, on just those 2. So we would click on the add to change grid. It's kind of above you right underneath the word labor. If we were going to do it for all of them, we could have hit add all, but we just want to pick out these custom ones. So now let's go to the change tab at the very top. So there's our 2, and what we want to do is we want to increase the profit. We want to make it 100% profit on this custom stuff. These die walls are going to kill us. So let's go up to where it says line type for that field at the very top, and we're going to just change it to profit or overhead, either one, it doesn't matter. Pick the one you want. It's towards the bottom. And now put in whatever number you want. Just make it be different than the one we have. Okay, and hit change all. It automatically will have changed them. Go ahead and close the box up. And now there you can see off to our right is our 23% in red. Now, if you changed your mind and decided you want to go back, or they said, Bob, we can't do it for that price, this is one of the first places you'll head. It's what did I change? So you can click on that, put it back to 10%, it'll go back to black again. That tells you that that's what it was originally. So kind of a fun way to manipulate. Sorry?
The best way to do like a stone buyout, like say, you know, I'm getting a quote from a subcontractor for $10,000. I'm going to mark it up 20%. I suppose we'd want to know what we're buying it at and what we're selling it for in this. So,
so 2 ways we can do it. We can either create a product and drag in the solid surface material. But if it's truly just a subcon out, again, I like to do a product because I always wanted to see subcon. If you leave it as just an item like we did that metal sheet, it's not going to delineate that out as a subcontractor. So for my money, I would always have created a product. So go up to where it says reception and right click, and let's choose add product, because we're going to kind of invent something that doesn't really exist just yet. And you're going to call it granite countertop or quartz or whatever you want to call it, solid surface. And you can always type it over on the left as well. You don't have to go to that. And so now what you're going to do is you're going to grab the library item over on your right that says solid surface material. Yep, and you can find the one you want. Looks like you got quite a few in there already. Doesn't matter, just open one and grab it. And drag it right on top of that product, so right up to that, and let it go. So in it comes, you can see it's a square foot price of $14.30. So if you're buying 2 sheets of it, you'll go ahead and throw in, how many square feet is that? 32, is that right?
It's 26, I think.
Sorry, I know it's something weird when it's 30. So put in what a sheet would be.
30.
Okay, and say okay. Now the other reason you might use this is, let's say you have a solid surface assembly. You guys are going to do it. And you pull it in and you realize that it's not there, you're not buying a full sheet. Well, we both know you're not going to get away with not buying a full sheet. You have to buy a full sheet. So you would actually come in and drag in a little bit more of that material to make up a sheet. Because when you use the assembly, you might not have it show up that way.
I guess I don't know if this is what we're talking. I mean, when we buy out stone countertops, I mean they fabricate and they install. So I mean, I'm talking, you know, like whatever.
Okay.
Port.
Sure. So go ahead and right click on where it says the product for me. Just right click there and choose Insert Before. And change that material drop down where it says type from material, change it to subcon. Change the cost type to subcon as well. Now right click on the description, choose edit row, and type in your description of what that is and the cost that your contractor quoted you as a total buyout.
Okay, that'd be the price he quotes me.
Correct. So put in a 1 for the quantity, a unit of measure is job or lot. I usually put job at the top, just made more sense to me. And then $1,000 put in. And you could even put like what the color is, everything in that description, and say okay. So now, because we're using a subcon, you have a different unit of, or a different, wow, my brain just completely stopped working, overhead and profit attached to those. So that's by the job. You would remove that other material that you have listed up top. You can just highlight that row and delete it. You have to do it from the left on the one, yeah.
Now, would you put your profit in on the line we just added in, the $1,000?
Yeah, I mean, it's coming in automatically as a profit that you have set up automatically, but your overhead for your subcons, you can go up to your 2 little check marks and go to the overhead percentages. And right now you have subcon set to 20. So if for some reason you wanted it to be different for this job, great. If it's across the board 20, then perfect, you leave it where it is. So it'll always come in with 20, whereas your material was coming in as 5.
So shouldn't it be 1,200 if that's 20%? I mean,
don't forget your profit.
That's we just mark. I guess we have to change that. We just do a straight 20% markup on buyouts.
Okay. So say okay, and let's remove the profit. There you go.
That's simple.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to add something in, you can certainly do that. And you could even make this a library item so that you can drag it in as a subcon each and every time.
Okay.
I mean, there might be something under bid price that has that. We didn't even look under that one. Go to your right.
So like every single time, like, because, you know, we have a lot of stone buyout, just call it stone. Usually we just call it stone or granite quote.
Yeah, go back over to your solid surface material. God bless. And go to bid price. So yeah, we could actually add, since I don't see any stone listed here at all. So
Okay,
if you wanted to, we could make a library division and subdivision that would be stone and granite. And then you
could, we can play around with that.
Yeah. I mean, you can make something like this on the fly just by clicking. There's a little library button right there.
Where?
Right on the line. It's just to the left of where it says subcontractor.
Oh.
Yep. And just click on it. And now you can actually invent a new subtotal a division and a subdivision on the left. So if you click new first and choose it, what did you want to call it, stone and granite or just stone?
Stone buyout, I guess.
There you go, love it. Okay, and say okay. And then go down to where it is, okay? And probably don't need a subdivision other than subcon or buyout, stone buyout again. You gotta put something there, yeah. Say okay, and then just hit the new button on the very bottom there. And it's gonna populate in. It comes in with the subcon, it comes in with the cost type, and then you could change that to a 0, and then every time you could just put in whatever price you want, or you could leave it as $1,000 and then just have it be what you want it every time.
Good, that's cool.
Yeah.
And then it will populate for you every time. Now we changed that item, so it's gonna be showing up as 0 this time. Right click in the library for me and choose refresh. And there's our stone. Grab our stone buyout, drag it up under there, let it go, put in your 1, put in your $1,000 as your cost. Put it in your adjusted unit cost. I apologize because we put a 0 in there to get rid of it, and say okay. There it is. Now it's always going to come in with that profit, so you're still going to have to blow that away. I think we might be able to, I wonder if we can make that have a 0 profit. Do me a favor, double click on that granite, the one we just put in. Nope, the new one. And choose edit. And where it says profit markup, put a 0 for me and say okay. And say okay again. Hey, look at that.
Cool.
Takes it away. All right, so that is fixed. So now you have that. So if you have another one that you want to put in there, you know, other than granite, you want to put a quartz. It says it's just quartz. Now remember, when you drag this in, you've changed that to granite. If you wanted to change the verbiage to be quartz, you can just type over that and call it quartz. So if you just want to change it to be stone countertop so that it's more generic, you can do that.
Whoops.
Yeah, just change it right there. Once you drag something in, you can change it any way you want.
Say I was
Oh,
trying
maybe
to,
not. The library
it's
won't
not
let you do
letting
it.
me.
Well, I take it back. It lets you do it on an assembly, but not there. Do this for me. Change it on the product row.
Change it where?
Yeah, the last line where it says product. Yeah, so there you could change it to say quartz. So it's more specific than saying granite like it was before.
Well, we're kind of talking about materials. This may be sort of off topic, but when I was adding materials, our 5-knuckle hinges, the way we've been doing them is we put extra labor into the hinge itself.
Yep.
But I assume that you have a better way to do that.
I do. So when we use job spec, you're going to choose a 5-knuckle hinge in job spec. And what's going to happen is the minute you do that, it's going to turn on extra labor for you. So that extra labor doesn't exist unless it's a 5-knuckle hinge.
Oh, so you've already got that in there.
Yes, sir.
Okay, we can go down that road when we start talking about assemblies and stuff.
Yeah.
I'm just curious.
So it's actually pretty simple. I mean, like I said, it's just part of job spec, and we'll hit job spec next time.
Yeah.
So let's.
I was going to put like stuff in. I was starting to do it the way we normally do. I was like, I bet there's different ways. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Job spec's pretty magical because what it'll do. Actually, let's just touch on it. You guys are just leaps and bounds ahead. So, job spec is the red Rolodex looking thing. It's the 4th one over from the right. Yep. So right click for me in that estimate job specs and choose new and just call it test. Then make this box taller for me. Thanks. And the bottom too, pull it down because you're not going to want to scroll. All right, so when we do job specs, you have a set of specs in here that are automatic for you. They're your defaults. Everything is set up to kind of operate under those. And at some point, you decide you want to change them, like you want to change a 5-knuckle hinge. So you could certainly go to where your hinges are inside of all of your base cabinets or on one of them and then have it hit them all and change them to a 5-knuckle, but that isn't going to add that labor. So we want to use job spec to do it. So let's write and grab this cabinets at the bottom here and just drag it up to where it says job spec products. and let it go. So let's say the only thing we're changing about this is that 5-knuckle hinge. So it's going to open up for us in a minute. Go ahead and click on where it says cabinets. Now the neat part about it is that you have wall, tall, and base cabinets. So let's say Susie Homemaker says to you, I want my base cabinets to be painted and I want all my wall and talls to be stained. Well, you can actually do that just by clicking on base and making them all one thing, and then clicking on tall and making them the thing you want and wall the thing you want. Now if everything is the same, like in this case we're all using 5-knuckle hinges, we would just do it from the very top where it says cabinets because it'll flow all the way down. So I point out the base, wall, tall because that is happening. Like I know I did an island and my island was completely different color than the rest of my cabinets. So that happens. So if we look over on our right, you can see that you have hinge choice. It's the 4th one up from the bottom. If you click on that and you choose 5-knuckle, you see it says this selects 5-knuckle hinges for all cabinet doors. Say okay. That's all we're changing. We're just making this one little change. It's pretty big because it's going to affect your price. So let's go up to the very, let's go to reception. Okay. The cool part about job spec is that you can apply it in 3 places. The very top of a job, and it'll trickle all the way down through everything. The base bid of a job, it'll trickle down through all the base bid information, including alternates. Will not touch a change order if a change order is added. Or you can do it at a summary level, which is where we're going to do it because we're going to want to play around a bit. So right now you can see our price is $27.56. If we ran a line type analysis report, we could see our hinges. So let's do that. And it's right underneath the word context is a little hand holding a piece of paper. Yep, right there. And go ahead and click including our pending alternates because we've got an alternate in this. I don't know if it's going to be a part of it up at the middle on the left. Alternates, there you go. And click OK. All right, I'll make that bigger. Yikes. So you can see that this has 12 bloom 120 degrees and plates to go with it. Okay. And our labor is only 14 hours of labor. So let's go ahead and close it and let's assign and apply our spec. So to do that, we're going to right click on that reception that we just added up there. You're going to go down to the word job specs and you're going to go over to assign a job spec. There's the only one we have. We get a 15 specs if we had made up a bunch of different ones, but we've only got one right now. And say okay. So it shows us that we've got that spec there. It says it's assigned by the little flyout panel. If you click on our summary at the bottom, our price hasn't changed yet. It's still $27.56, so we still need to apply it now. It's assigned, but it hasn't been applied. So go ahead and right click again and come down to job specs again. And this time I want you to apply it. And you'll start to see in the bottom right corner, it says it's applying the specs. You'll start to see a percentage come through. If it's a whole bunch, like you're doing the entire job, it could take a while to apply a spec. But you see it went from $27.56 to $28.03. And if we run a job, that line type analysis now, you'll see that our hinges are now 5-knuckle hinges instead.
Okay. And then in your assembly, you've increased the labor for the 5-knuckle hinge.
Yep. And I can show you how that works. Go ahead and close this up for me. Show you the backdoor trick. So go up to the word define and come down to job specs and go to setup. So this is the inner workings of job spec, and as time goes on, if you guys decide you want to add a spec or change something, this is where you might start to do it. You might ask me to come help you, or if it's too elaborate, I might ask Dave to come help you. Oh, it's thinking hard.
Now not responding.
That's still thinking. That's why. Don't let it go.
Well, it's thinking. I was also I was looking at the products, and there's I don't know if do you provide the graphic files, or is that something we just need to do ourselves? Or
I have some. Did you not get any?
I didn't seem like it. I looked at a basic base cabinet and I said, oh, what does it look like in their file? And I didn't see them.
Huh.
But I only checked like maybe one or two things.
So when you hit the show graphics button, nothing happened?
Correct. Well, it came up with nothing. I mean, the little dialog box popped up where it should be, but there's no image.
Let me see if I've got it. Oh, there we go. There's your button. Okay, go ahead and make that bigger. 20 minutes later, it's because we're on together. It just makes everything slower. So if you click open the cabinets on the configuration on the left and go to base is fine. And if you come down to the hinge choice and hit the plus sign, fourth up from the bottom, and you click on the 5-knuckle, you can see that there's a full set. And what you notice here is you've got that it's ignoring the hinge plate. You see that?
Yeah.
But it's unignoring the labor for the 5-knuckle hinge, and it's unignoring a hinge catch. So now if we went back and looked, we would actually see labor that had increased. So that's what job spec does. It actually turns those things on and off for you. Same thing for, like, say, finish. So let's say we turned these melamine cabinets and laminate cabinets into wood cabinets. Well, we need to have finish. We need to have labor for finish. We need to have, if we distress it. So we have all of those specs. So if you were to click on, say, glaze finish up there on the left, you'll see the same sort of thing. So if you click on add heavy, you'll notice that it unignores labor for glaze. And if you scroll over to the right, you'll see that there's a percentage that actually makes the time go more. Yep. So we add time to it for glazing. So it's kind of magical. There's not a whole lot of magic buttons in our programs. I love it when people say to me, well, what's the magic button? This is a magic button. Job spec is magical because it takes your norm and transforms it into what you need it to be. And the neat part is that once you start playing in job spec, any template that you make, like we just created that one in this job, let's say you had 5 things about this. It was a PVC edge banding. I'm sorry, it was, what's your norm? Is it PVC or laminate edge banding?
PVC.
Okay, I had a customer recently where their norm was laminate, and I was like, "Ooh, was that you guys or not?" Sorry.
Yeah.
So let's say you had a customer who very lovingly asked you to put laminate on the edge banding. It's like, no, but you need to do it, right? Well, guess what? It costs more time. So as soon as you flip that switch to where it says edge banding, if you hit that cabinet edge band, you'll see one of your choices is to choose laminate. So when you do that, click on the laminate one. You'll see that it actually changes it to that, and there is a labor that's involved in it too. You're not seeing it on this one, but it's there.
So this would be the area like, okay, say you bid a job per their spec, and they're like, whoa, that's just way too high. Let's take off these $20 poles, put melamine interiors in, let's give us your most your basic thing, and let me know what the price difference is.
Yeah.
This is kind of where we do that. You don't
or
have
consequently, if they tell you, hey, I want an oak cabinet, and then they say, well, what would it be for mahogany? And you're like, oh my God. All you have to do is copy everything that you just did as oak, make another set of them, call them oak. Instead of 006 reception, you call it oak 006 reception. You apply an oak job spec against it, and they see, oh, okay, it's really, or a mahogany one, it's going to be $300 more. That's all the difference is. And so they say, oh yeah, great, do it. Or they say, oh my God, forget it, no way. So you can very quickly manipulate it by using specs. You don't have to reinvent the wheel and requote the job.
Okay. Yeah, actually the quote I just sent you, the guy, hey, you got that job, and they're like, oh, by the way, we need value engineering, and it had, $15 poles and high pressure interiors. And
Yeah, and so what you would do is you would literally go out of this completely because you wouldn't do it here. So let's say you wanted to change the pulls and you wanted to change the slides. They said, hey, use epoxy slides instead. If that's not your norm, you would come in here and you would apply a whole new spec to this and change everything to be, and you could even save that as a value engineer template. So anytime you make a spec, go ahead and go up to your red button again, up at the top there, the spec button.
I assume we'll create one that is our Horizon standard cabinet.
So there is one in there already, and that's what I was going to show you, and it's called default. And that's actually the only way to remove a spec. So if you add a spec to something, and then let's say you magically went, oh, I don't want 5-knuckle hinges, I made a mistake. The only way to really get rid of it would be to actually apply the default against it again. That's the only way to turn it back to the beginning, because you could apply another spec over it, and unless it's got a change of that hinge, it's not going to change anything.
Okay, so we make the default our typical cabinet with
It is already set that way, yeah, based on when Dave wrote your database. So if you just right-click and choose Test 2 for me. Say
choose
new.
what?
Just right-click, choose New, and call it Test 2. When it pops up. Okay, and say OK. So now right-click on it and choose Load Specs from Template. Instead of going from scratch, we're going to grab a template. And the only one that exists right now is your default, so that's fine. You're never going to change your default unless something about your default changes. But until that point, you're not going to change it. And what's neat about it is it's going to populate with all of your defaults, which is a great way to learn. You know, how am I building? What do I build with? Especially if you're a new employee and you don't know everything about you guys. It's a great tool. So if we click on cabinets right now, just click on the word cabinets for me. There you go. What you'll notice is that instead of saying NA to everything, we're going to have all of our defaults set up. So it kind of tells us, oh, okay, if I want to change my cabinet type from a plastic laminate with PVC edge banding, which is my norm, to a veneer cabinet or to a plastic laminate with laminate edge banding, you would click that drop down on the very first one, all the way at the top. Start at the top. There you go. And you could change it to show what you want it to have. So you got plastic laminate edge banding, plastic PVC edge banding with a finished interior, or plastic laminate edge banding with a finished interior. You've also got wood cabinets with a finished interior, as well as it appears you do face frames sometimes. So you have the ability to change it to a face frame cabinet, which is going to add solid and add lumber and add all kinds of things.
Okay.
Okay, so choose plastic laminate, and then as you go down the list here, you'll notice the things you have to change. So the first thing you notice is cabinet edge banding. It says PVC down about 5 from where you are. So if you drop that one down and you change it to laminate edge banding, you'll notice that the library books on your right turn to gray, because what you had there was PVC, and now you've told us, I don't want to use PVC, I want to use laminate. So you need to click on those and assign the correct thing.
I did notice our drawer boxes aren't correct. Like, we've got all melamine drawer boxes, and we use hardwood sides or plywood sides.
Okay. Let's finish this first. So go ahead and choose a laminate over on the left. You can see it's taken you to where it thinks you need to be. It's pretty smart. It's going to take you to laminate because you said you wanted PVC edge banding. But if you click on screws or hardware and you pick the wrong thing, guess what? It's going to assign that to it. It's not going to stop you from throwing a screw in there instead of a piece of laminate. So choose any one of those and then hit either double click it or hit the little double arrow so that it goes over to your right. And say OK. And now you can see that that edge banding is no longer grayed out. And if you hover over that book that you just added, it'll actually tell you what it is.
Okay.
So when you go to the shelf edge banding, it shows it as PVC. That's probably still right. You leave the inside still PVC. But the other place we might change would be the door and drawer fronts, probably. So go ahead and change that to a laminate. And then come on down. And where it shows the edge banding, nope, you just passed it. One more up. Perfect. And choose that as laminate, and then choose your laminate again. So the beauty of this is that basically we've just made a brand new job spec that is plastic laminate edge banding, and we can save this off as a specification that you could use over and over and over. So the way we would save it is we would just right click on that and choose Save Specs as a Template. And let's call it what it really is, P/L edge banding. Because that's what it is. The whole job is that. And so you say OK, and it's going to save it. So now the next time we right click and we choose Load Specs from Template, we're going to see our default setup and our P/L edge banding. So you know that that's that one. So you could use that again. Now, of course, it says Wilson Art. If you wanted to change it to say, you could actually change that whole thing and have it say plastic laminate, Wilson Art plastic laminate, so that if you wanted to do one that said Pionite, you could actually have that happen. So now you mentioned that your drawer boxes aren't right. So your norm is not a white melamine drawer box?
It's melamine bottom and plywood sides. The box.
Okay, I'm just looking.
It's the drawer box type, I think.
All right, let's go look at a drawer. Say okay to this. I feel like I just flew through job spec, but I feel like you guys got it. So does everybody sort of?
Next time you're going to spend time on it, yeah, I think we need a little more time.
Okay. All right. Double click on the very first one where it says our drawers. Just the plus sign next to the one.
Over here?
Either place. Right there. You either click on it, on the name. Yeah. And then scroll down to drawer boxes. Yeah, you're definitely using. I wonder why he did that.
So there's probably no way to change the default without a huge headache?
Well, we're going to change the drawer box, the subassembly, to say the right thing. Go to the Assemblies tab for me. Sorry, the Main Assemblies tab. Actually, you could just right-click on drawer box here at the bottom. Come on down to the bottom. Yeah, there you go. Right-click and choose Open Assembly.
I actually put the plywood in too, because I was thinking of that might be a problem. So I actually have plywood in your sheet goods that we use. It's
Okay.
5x5 Baltic birch.
Well, what we'll do is we'll just swap it out and we'll move on in life. Pretty easy. Hit the plus sign next to the 1 for me. All right, so we've got drawer box sides right now we're showing as 3/4, and that's wrong, correct?
Correct.
All right, so double click on that first one for me and choose Edit Library. Actually, replace. I apologize. I said the wrong thing. I'm so sorry. That was totally my fault. And you can make this box bigger so you can see it. It's kind of crazy small. Okay, and let's go ahead and head to the sheet goods, and up on the upper right where you're in melamine, we need to go to where that would be.
I put under drawer stock up there. There you go. Okay,
and just double click on that. Oh, it's a different size, isn't it? Shoot. I don't know how to do this because it's 5x5, right?
That's what we're buying now.
Yeah, I don't want to do a swap because our formula is going to be wrong. So hit cancel. I'm going to make a note. So drawer boxes should be 5x5 or 60x60 stock. Can you show me that library item again? Go up to the library books above the word estimate. Yep. And go to that same place.
Where was that?
It's under sheet goods and then drawer stock on the right. So you called it standard. Yeah, just double click it so I can see the whole thing. Standard drawer stock 12mm 60x60 Baltic birch. And you've got it as SF 5 by 5, Robux 16, 1, 2. All right, what I want to do is I want to make sure that I don't have to have a new formula. And the reason I want to say that, go ahead and hit cancel for me. I want to show you so we don't screw something up. So if you double click on the drawer box sides for me right now, that formula just to the right. Yep, double click it. So if you notice here, we've got two sides and we're saving our height is the subassembly height, our width is the subassembly depth, and then we're multiplying it out by and dividing it by 144, which is square footage. But I'm afraid that because this is the way it is, it's going to screw it up. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
I think I need to have Dave write me a different formula, and I don't know what that is. So I'm going to take a
I'm
picture.
sure other people use, plywood sides.
Oh, absolutely. I used to buy the ones that were pre-made white, and they had the groove in them and everything. So I know it's not a big deal. I'm just telling you that I don't know how to write that kind of a spec.
Sure.
So I'm going to have him fix that. The cool part is that once we get the new formula, or if he just pops on and does it for you, what will happen is we just swap it out on all the drawer boxes, and instantly everywhere it lives, it'll change it for you.
Nice.
Okay, so it's kind of, that's another neat thing is that when you said, well, I guess we can't do it for all of them. Yeah, we can. Now, of course, we could change it until that point by using job spec and just swapping out that one thing. Just hit cancel here and just close this up and go back to your estimate. And so let's go up to our job spec again. Now, I don't remember, did it show us? I can't remember. Did it give us a side choice? Click on test 2. And click on cabinet. I sort of feel like it didn't, so we might actually have to write a new spec too. Because what if you did want to make the whole thing melamine? Yeah, you just have drawer box. You don't have
sometimes we have to make melamine boxes. I mean, that's
yeah, so I think we need to have a drawer box side and a drawer box bottom so that you could swap them out if you wanted to.
That'd be good.
All right, and need a new spec too. So we can add sides or bottom that are all mel. That's right. We want to switch it back, but then we want to make sure we can still go back to what we had. Right?
Yep.
All right. Looks good. Go ahead and say okay. If it was a one-to-one swap, like we were swapping sheets of ply for sheets of white mel, I would have just had you double click on that and replace it, and we would have moved on in life. And Dave may say to us, no, it's fine. It's 144 is fine. It'll still work for that. I honestly just, sometimes the formula thing goes right over my head, and the last thing I want to do is mess up your database. So we'll get an answer, and we'll go back to that then eventually. Okay?
So that 5 by 5, I put that in as 5 by 5. Is that just text, or does that like refer to anything like as far as optimization of materials? Or
no, what it does is it just gives us that formula so that we can write the formula properly.
Okay.
Now, ultimately, like the 4 by 8, when we bring that over into ShopPack eventually, what will happen is that you will have a unit of measure conversion formula that takes 4 by 8 and multiplies it to 32, so that when we do something like that, we're actually purchasing a sheet, because we purchase it by the sheet. We quote by the square foot, but we purchase by the sheet. So when you bring it in, it will, like you phrased it, optimize it so that it shows it as a sheet. So if we had, 24 square feet of something and it was a 5 by 10, well, now you'd need a half a sheet.
Okay.
And that's why I mentioned with the solid surface, if you guys have an assembly for solid surface tops, which you do, I see it down there below. If you were to drag that in, and then when you looked at your line type analysis, just go up to reception 06 and just drag in a solid surface for me. Doesn't matter which one. And if you put it in as, right now it's showing up as 1, because it's an 8-foot piece by 24 inches. So let's say you changed it to a 48-inch piece. The width is 48. And you said okay. Well, guess what? It's not a full sheet. Now, unless you stock that, you have to buy a full sheet. You don't get to just buy a half a sheet. It doesn't work that way, right?
Mhm.
So you would actually need to pad that product and bring in additional material so that it actually increases it so that you are getting the right amount. Now, you don't necessarily need more labor to manufacture it. I mean, you could certainly have left it as 196 foot if that's your normal piece that you're going to buy. But if it's not, and you know that you have to buy that additional, you would open up that product. And you can open it up pretty easily. Just double click on that little drop down arrow next to the 4. There you go. And then if you hit the plus sign again, now you'll see the products inside of there. And if you went to the very top, that's where your material is. Always is the very first one. So hit the plus sign. And that's where you can see all the material that's going into this. And so it's 30 by 12. And so you know, okay, I've got to add something. It's 12-foot piece. That's what I have to buy. Or it's a 10-foot piece. And I really only need a 4-foot piece. So what am I going to do? If I could leave it this way, if I have a piece of scrap laying around, but if I don't, I got to buy a full sheet. So you're going to need to pad that. You're going to drag in some more material and pad it so that you get a full sheet, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Could you do countertops by lineal foot, or are they all each? Or?
It looks like he's got it set up as each. So here's what you could do. I mean, you can certainly go to that quartz and you could right click on that last line, that solid surface line. Just right click and choose edit row. And so if you changed it from a width, it was set to 96, wasn't it?
Mhm.
So that would be 8 feet. So if you changed it to 12 and you put in 8 as the quantity, nope, leave the depth and height the same, sorry.
What was the depth?
25.
It was 24. Oh, was it 25? Okay, sorry.
Whatever.
And then put the quantity as 8. You're almost getting the same thing. Now, here's the difference. You do have an issue where it thinks you're creating sides. And so it'll add a little money to it. I've had people do it both ways. So go ahead and say okay to this. And you can see your price. And now drag it in a second time. So go back up to reception and drag it in again. And put in just a 1 there. And say okay. And now you can go to the 2 different ones and see the price. Oh, wow, it's substantially wrong. What did we do wrong?
Yeah, because historically we've always done lineal foot for countertops. I guess I'd like to keep it that way. Yeah.
Okay. All right, I'm going to write him a note to lineal foot for C-tops. He'll just write you so that you'll have solid surface with top with backsplash, and it'll say LF.
Okay, and if while he's in there, if he wants, I don't know if he does, if you charge him for cove tops, I would assume, or I don't see a breakdown between like applied splash and cove integral splashes.
So you do integrals as well?
Yes, we do.
Okay. All righty. I will. So he will probably need to get a copy of the database. I'll find out when he's got some time and he can kind of build on these real quick for you. And we'll go from there. Yeah, he's got wall panels as a square footage one, and then there's probably a lineal footage one above it. But I'll make sure he gets you some countertops that are like that as well.
Okay, for plastic laminate as well, yeah. Basalt tops.
So you want lineal foot for everything?
For all countertops, yes.
Okay. All right. You got it. I will mention it to him. Cool. All right. So does this feel like a good place to stop? Does everybody feel like they're about to explode?
Not yet, but we
well,
don't
you
want to
guys,
get to that point.
you guys are rocking it. I mean, you're definitely kind of, I can tell you're diving in and you're popping around, and you know, I love that you're experimenting and going further. What we're going to do next time we meet, what do I have you on my calendar? Let me look. So I've got you on Friday. Yep, same time. So what we'll do on Friday is we're going to tackle change orders. And then we're also going to look at job spec again, because we kind of got a little out of order there. We kind of blew through job spec a little bit. but we'll get a little more elaborate and we'll make a few of them to make you feel comfortable.
So was that at 1 o'clock our time?
So what time is it now? 3? No, you're 1 hour behind me. I've got you listed on Friday. I've got you for 3. Would you rather, or for 2 o'clock your time? Would you rather it was earlier?
I'm fine with 2.
Okay, let's leave it there then. I've got you. Yeah, I've got you listed as 3 o'clock my time, 2 o'clock yours.
Okay.
Perfect.
Friday.
All right. Well, then I will see you guys on Friday.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
All right. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.